Back over to Kelly.
And Miles, as you just mentioned, the city of Houston was really hard hit by last week's storms. The damage left behind is tragic and quite costly. In fact, since last Sunday, more than 240 billion gallons of water have fallen across the area. Think about that. That's a lot of water. All that water has flooded nearly 2,000 homes. Here to discuss the potential economic implications is meteorologist and business analyst Paul Walsh. Good to see you this morning, Paul.
Good morning, Kelly.
So how big of an economic hit could this be specifically for the Houston area?
Well, Kelly, estimates now are the economic impact will be the biggest in the last 15 years. So not since Tropical Storm Allison have we seen such a big hit to such a big metro area in Houston. And it's because on the days where it was raining, people obviously weren't going to work, businesses were shut down, and of course we saw the devastating impact. You just mentioned the fact that a couple of thousand homes were flooded. Early estimates, and these are only estimates, is that we'll probably see about $2 billion worth of economic damage, and about half of that will be covered by insurance.
Well, what about the losses? Are they permanent then?
Well, you know, the good news, if there is any good news, is a lot of the losses, the economic losses where businesses were shut down, and even the damage will in time be recovered. So from a broader economic perspective, as money starts to flow in and they start to rebuild, generally what happens is you see a bit of an economic rebound. For some businesses, however, they won't get that money back. So restaurants, hotels, places that lost business for those 2 days, that business just won't be coming back.
Yeah, you mentioned Allison back in 2001, of course. Just this past Memorial Day weekend, we had a huge flood event there, too. So are these kinds of events happening more quickly?
Well, you know, it absolutely seems to be the case, and for a couple of reasons, and the impact is growing for a couple of reasons. Number one is that there's just more of us living in areas that are susceptible to these kind of events. The other reason is climate change, and it's from a flooding perspective, it's been longly predicted as part of the science that we'll see an increase in these sort of events, these sort of heavy flood events. In fact, you mentioned last Memorial Day, but in the Houston area alone, they've had 4 of these large flooding events just over the last 12 months. So expect more of this to be happening over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
So what do you do? How are governments and businesses preparing for that increase in the high impact events?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And of course, technology is helping us better prepare for that. Technology from a weather forecasting perspective, from a predictive perspective. You know, these events are very well predicted well in advance. And businesses and as well as governments are looking at the problem very objectively, thinking about ways to be more resilient, to build better, and to create businesses that are able to withstand these kind of events. So we're adapting as the climate and the weather is adapting, but in the near term, it's become a pretty significant problem.
Adapting and learning from these events as well. Paul Walsh, good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being with us.